keep putting into practice all that you have learned and received from me, everything you heard from me and saw me doing, then the God of peace will be with you. This is Vince Hafner, pastor of the First Baptist Church of Cherryville, reminding you God loves you.
And we're back on Saturday Morning Sports Talk with Hunter, Terry, and Tom.
Yeah, we're back. Kevin's here as well. You totally forgot to
Kevin's here in spirit.
mention that Kevin is here. But we're back. Yeah, for those of you that have just got back with us off of our commercial break, we are now going to speak on the NFL. The NFL is still trying to plan on starting at original date. They're still trying to come back on time. That's the plan so far. The NFL, it seems like they're not really scared of this coronavirus, so they're trying to come back on time. But I'm not talking about when they start. For those of you that know, we are Carolina Panthers affiliates, and so anything that happens in the Carolinas, we really need to talk about. And one of the biggest storylines has always been, even for the past few months, Cam Newton. He's not a Panther anymore. He's not anybody's quarterback. But what I'm getting at is Ron Rivera was the old coach here in Carolina, and he was on FS1's Fox Football now with Jay Glazer. And that was yesterday, Friday afternoon. And they asked him why Ron Rivera thinks Cam Newton doesn't have a job. Now, this is Cam's our old coach. They went to a Super Bowl together. Ron coached him for 8 or 9 years, was his MVP coach as well. And this is what Ron Rivera had to say to Jay Glazer on why a team has not signed the quarterback Cam Newton. I think that's probably the biggest thing more than anything else. Rivera said Friday on FS1's Fox Football Now with Jay Glazer when asked if Newton's past injuries have played a part in the former Panthers star lack of interest. He said, you've got to know the foot and the shoulder will be the two biggest concerns everybody has. He then goes on to say, I will say this, though. From the people that are around him that I know, they've all said the same thing to me. They said, Coach, he looks great. He really does. And they also told me he's a little bit different. His whole attitude, he's got something to prove. And I will say the one thing about Cam Newton with an edge or something to prove, don't ever bet against him. Now, Ron Rivera obviously implementing and implying that he thinks the reason Cam Newton does not have a job is because teams are concerned about the injuries. Obviously, with COVID right now, you can't go and visit team doctors because there's been such a restriction on travel. Now that teams are starting to be able to enter their facilities again, I could see players probably being able to go meet with team doctors now. I'm going to be completely honest. I think Ron Rivera's just blowing smoke up everybody's you-know-what. If you think Cam Newton off with a chip on his shoulder is going to be someone that you wouldn't bet against, and you still didn't make a move for him, you mean to tell me it's just because you're wondering if the shoulder and the foot is right? Now, with all that being said, that's me looking at it optically. But Ron was there with Cam while Cam was rehabbing, while Cam had just gotten off these surgeries. So if anybody would know exactly how Cam is off of these injuries, I'm pretty sure it would be Ron Rivera because he was there with him. He was there seeing how he was working and evaluating Cam the whole time, obviously while playing Kyle Allen and Will Grier while Cam was rehabbing. So I really don't know what to take from this other than I truthfully don't think that's the reason Cam doesn't have a job. We'll start with Terry and go around and we'll get with Kevin or Tom. Do you want to go first? What do you think about Ron Rivera's, his assessment of why Cam Newton doesn't have a job?
I like Ron Rivera. I like the way he handles things. He doesn't say anything stupid, and he wasn't going to say anything stupid. And, they did work together for a long time, and I think they had a pretty good relationship. I think there's some things that Newton did that Rivera didn't like, but he's not going to make a public feud about any of that. The injuries are going to be a concern, and I do understand that aspect. But I think a lot of other people, like Ron Rivera, won't say it, but they're worried about the antics. Now I think that's kind of he did a little sales pitch for him. He's different. He's got a chip on his shoulder, basically saying, "Look, he's going to come in and work. He's not going to be a distraction if you sign him." But I think a lot of people are like, don't know about that. I mean, because I'm more like a Rivera. I'm more like kind of conservative when I'd be out there putting myself out there in the media and things, and I just don't think a lot of teams want that in their locker room. You know what I mean? Like what's he going to be like in the locker room? Is he going to work hard and be a leader, or is he going to be out there wearing these crazy outfits that he does sometimes? Or like, remember when he said he was laughing at the female reporter that asked him the question? Like, he does stuff like that. Like, why are you doing that and create the negative media attention? Now we got to deal with all that crap. And that's one thing, if I mention Baker Mayfield real quick, he's been turning down interviews. No, I don't want to talk to the press. I don't want to talk to anybody because he doesn't want to be that distraction anymore because some of the stupid things that he said. He's a young man. Young people do stupid stuff. See, but Cam's 31, and still kind of doing the stupid stuff, Terry. You know what I mean? Like, the stupid stuff. Now, the fact that he doesn't have a job and he needs to get a job, maybe he realizes that, well, I can be a little flash without being a distraction. You see what I mean? When have you crossed the line to where you're now just just like a Terrell Owens, a tremendous talent, but now you're a distraction because your antics and the stupid things you say. So I think that hurt him. That hurt him in free agency. I do think somebody's going to sign him, Terry. Somebody's got to sign him because he's got too much talent not to be signed. But that's why I think a lot of teams are still cautious. Yeah. He's going to work. He's not going to bring all the distress. He's got a chip on his shoulder. The shoulder and knee are fine. But, Terry, I just got to wonder, do people want that? Or do they want to take a chance that he'll be a distraction?
I think the biggest thing, Tom, coming out of this is you have a MVP who to me should have went to the defense, but he got it. And I do not think that he wants to take a step back. Jameis Winston did, but Jameis Winston was not an MVP.
And he's a lot younger.
Yes. And Cam is like, I've shown what I can do. 3 out of 9 losing seasons? No, 6 out of 9 losing seasons is what it was. He only had 3 winning seasons. But for him to sit back, and I still think he wants a starting job. I think his agent is pushing for a starting job. I think that's hard for him to take. I think he's got to take a backup. And there is so much money from being a starter to being a backup, and I don't think Cam wants to do that because we're talking about Marietta is the top, like one of the top backups for $7 million. I don't think Cam wants to drop down to no $7 million.
He would go from, $20 million to $7 million?
That's what I'm saying. And I do not think he wants to do that, and that's what his agent keeps pushing. But I just think it's just making his life in the NFL much shorter because, to me, I think you're going to have to take a step back until you can prove yourself again. Go somewhere where the starter is not a legit thing. Not Cincinnati, because I think Burrows are going to be it for them. But hunt a team that your agent could get you into where their starter is iffy, and if he messes up, you get a chance. That's what I think he's got to be after. Can he go to Dallas if Dak is there? No. He's never going to be a starter there. Can he go to Tampa when Tom Brady? No, because Tom Brady's not going to get hurt. So you got to go to a spot that his agent finds another team. Chicago may be great, and I know they've got Foles and they've got Trubisky on there, but he still might have a chance there because neither one of those have proven I can be a starter all year long.
Or if Jacksonville wanted him, but they don't.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's got to find somebody like that, and it's all up to his agent. I mean, he's sitting back. His agent's taking care of everything. So, and a lot of people, just like you said, do not want to put up the little stuff.
They don't.
I mean, don't put the eye on you when it's about a team concept.
Yeah, and I just think that that's in the back of a lot of teams' minds. That for his sake, I do think that, there's a lot of Cam Newton just pure haters out there. And I'm not like a pure hater because I know the guy can play. He can play at an extremely high level, and nobody's going to doubt that. So I'm not like one of these haters out there, but I do hope that wherever he goes, you could still you got to be you. Mm-hmm. I understand that, but without being the huge distraction.
Well, I got a question for y'all. If you do not think the NFL, Tom Brady has went to Tampa, and they've got the quarterback coach out there showing him how to hold his arm, how to move it, how to fold it, how to throw. And I'm like, Tom Brady knows. He's got 6 Super Bowls. That guy,
Byron Leftwich.
That's what I'm saying. That guy that's teaching him has none. Or if he was, he might have been on another team and got one from being a trainer or something. But I'm sitting here, Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
You're trying to tell this
Tom Brady
guy.
is focused on perfection, and that's what he said he does every year with his throwing coach.
Yes.
Every offseason, he goes out there and he always is working on trying to get his mechanics back down. And so I guess that's one thing I've always knocked on with Cam is I think he's always relied too much on his athletic ability and the fact that he's always been quote unquote the most talented player on the field, that he never really worked on his mechanics. But I throw it to Kevin here. Kevin, do you agree with what Coach Rivera said? Obviously, Cam's old coach. Because I'll be honest, Ron Rivera is the last one to really get a good look at Cam Newton at the NFL level, probably besides the rest of his teammates, because even Matt Rule didn't even get to look at him. He got there and they were just like, yeah, we're going to get ready to ship Cam out of town. Do you think that the injuries are what is keeping Cam Newton, like the whole question around his injuries? Do you think that's what's keeping Cam off of an NFL roster right now?
I don't think it's one thing. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't in particularly think it is one thing at this point. The major thing that I like to go to with any of this, with the college football coaches, with the GMs in any sport, is that if you have to follow the money and whose job is on the line for every decision. So if you're a GM and your owner says, "What about Cam Newton?" and when you say, "Well, we've invested into whoever," I don't know if there's a good spot for him right now, other than when you look at it and say, "Yeah, we're playing Madden," and Hunter, I think that's what a lot of kids today tend to do, especially when they talk about basketball. They'll just look at a stat, or in baseball they'll look at whatever made up stat they want to add together, and then say, well, this guy's better than this, or without even looking into the nuances of that. So you've got to have a GM willing to put his job on the line on Cam Newton's health and Cam Newton's leadership and Cam Newton's play. Can that style win in the NFL? We've had running quarterbacks make it to the Super Bowl. Not many win the Super Bowl. And not saying they can't or they never will or anything like that, but one thing that happens when you get to the Super Bowl, Terry, and we talk about this all the time, 49 of 54 Super Bowl winners now of top 12 defense. Well, the Panthers, when you play them, who cares? And I keep saying this over and over. People want to talk about McCaffrey and his catches. If I'm a defense, he can have 25 catches if he wants. Because when you play defense, the last two things that you design your defense to stop is a quarterback run or a running back dump off. And so if those are your main two things, and that's a last ditch effort for most defenses, it's tough to win that way. One, then you've got injury concerns. Some people have the leadership concerns as far as on the field and in the locker room. Like do you? My always thing was, as a backup quarterback in the NFL, you're supposed to follow, kind of learn. Aaron Rodgers ain't gonna teach you nothing, but in practice, is he gonna throw a pass and then run and do the wave while the guy behind him is throwing passes and doing his job? No, nobody else on the field. And it's not that if he was a wide receiver, any of that would be okay. If he was a running back or a linebacker, want to do that. But when you're the quarterback of a football team, every single person on that team look at you for some type of leadership role, whether it's on the field, off the field, and all that, and that's one thing that you got to think about. And so with all that together, those were problems to begin with. Then comes the virus, and you can't inspect him or have the doctors come in and do a workout and check him out, evaluate him and really do what you're supposed to do with him. So you've got that, and then Hunter and guys, these teams have been trying to do the Seahawks way. In fact, the Seahawks have been trying to get rid of Russell Wilson because they don't want to pay quarterbacks. So when these teams succeed, a lot of times these quarterbacks are on low end contracts. And so are you going to give Cam Newton $20 million not knowing what he's going to do, not knowing what he is, if it's going to fit in your team and your offense? Can you win with that style? and Andy Dalton's taking $3 million. Jameis Winston threw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns last year. He took $1 million.
Just to play.
The quarterback, the whole quarterback market it's tough. I'll finish up here. It's tough because when you look at every team, it's risk versus reward. People say Jacksonville. Well, Hunter Minshew was rated the best rookie quarterback last year, and nobody talks about him.
Nobody talks about him.
And so that's disrespect. Is the Jacksonville guy that drafted him, is the GM that just drafted Minshew, and he had the best rating. Is he supposed to say, okay, I'm just going to give up on that and let's go sign Cam Newton? Is Ron Rivera in Washington? Obviously, he knows everything about Cam. It's not he's saying it's not him, between him and his organization. I think it's a perfect dichotomy of everything, just to show what's going on. Is that even if he wanted him, would Washington as a GM or owner want him after drafting Haskins? And I know you've got Alex Smith on the back burner and all that other stuff, but why would they want Cam Newton in that situation? And he even traded for Kyle Allen. Shows you everything you need to know about where Ron stands or thinks he stands on that. So I'll send it back to you guys for a sec there.
That was just a good point that you made. He had the opportunity to make a move for Cam Newton. Ron Rivera did, but he elected to go for Kyle Allen instead. And basically what I meant by that when I said, Ron Rivera is the one that knows Cam Newton the best right now, it is because Cam Newton was still on roster while Ron Rivera had to play Kyle Allen. So he had to always be in contact with Cam and always had to check in on him and say, hey, how you doing today? How's it feeling today? How's the shoulder? How's the foot? Are you able to work? He was probably in touch with all of his training staff, everybody that's been talking with or trying to work with Cam to get him back into playing shape. That's his job as a head coach. So when he comes out and says it's the injury thing, it might be a part of it, but I'm not taking that to the bank saying that's the only reason. The reason I think Cam Newton still doesn't have a job is because there's no market for him. I don't think there's a market for Cam Newton, and it's truthful. And you can say it's because of how he acts and just his antics off the field. I think it's because of his play on the field at the same time. I've been saying this for weeks, ever since the Panthers released him. I think they did him a disservice waiting so long to release him. He didn't really get to test a real market. Every team had made a move, and that's what I mean by there was no market for him. There still isn't a market for him. And the one thing that made Cam Newton so dangerous for years, everybody said he was the best runner with the football. He's not even the best running quarterback in the league anymore. No. He's had a foot injury, and he's never been the best thrower of the football, and he had a shoulder injury. Lamar Jackson is the best running quarterback in the league. Him, maybe Russell Wilson, and then I would go on a ledge and say either Kyler Murray or Josh Allen. The best throwing quarterback still might be Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Ben Roethlisberger can still sling the ball as long as his elbow's fine. I'm just trying to think of other ones, but Cam, Mahomes. Sorry, but Cam is just he's not the best at either of those, and at this point for his price tag, it goes into play kind of with what Kevin was saying about they're wanting to take the Seattle model at his price tag, and he's not even. I wouldn't even consider him top 5, maybe not even top 10 at this point at what he brings to the field. Why would you take a chance on him?
If he was top 10, he'd be signed by somebody. Go ahead, Terry.
I got 2 questions. Number 1 is I still think Cam hurt himself when they kept asking him to come back. Are you ready? No, I'm not ready. My foot still hurts, or my shoulder still hurts. Something. A lot of teams, if I am a GM or somebody getting ready to give him money, I'm not going to give him a lot of money because what if I sign him and then I got to sign this guaranteed money to him and he comes to us and after game 1 I stick him into the game, he gets hurt. Well, all of a sudden he's right back like he did Carolina and I'm not ready. And all of a sudden I'm paying him for 2 or 3 years a lot of money and I'm never seeing him on the field. My other question is you take Cam and I think he needs to, and again, I go back to where he needs to go to. He cannot go to a Tampa Bay because you got a Tom Brady pocket passer quarterback.
The system has to be made to fit Cam.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be made. He would be better off going to Baltimore to back up Lamar Jackson. because at least if he gets in
Similar.
the game, he can run the ball. You know, I mean, I just find it hard for him.
I think if he's gonna be a backup, Terry, I think that's an outstanding move. I was actually, before you said the words Baltimore, I was thinking in my head, you know, if he's going to take a 1-year deal, like there's a good. I'm not saying Lamar's going to get hurt, but the way he plays, you never know with the running quarterback. And you don't think John Harbaugh would find a way to use Cam and Lamar at the same time, the way that the Saints are trying to use, you know, Taysom Hill and all that, and mix and match it with them.
To me, Cam's best position, if we were to say a team that could take a shot at him, I think it's been rumored too.
Tight end.
Well, if he made a move
He
for
ain't
a
going to
position,
play tight end.
I'm
will
just,
not do
I'm
that.
just
He ain't
saying.
gonna
That takes
play
so
tight
much
end.
away from who he is.
He ain't going to play.
You
tight
know.
end.
What about linebacker?
He ain't gonna,
Linebacker.
No,
he ain't going
He'd
to play.
probably be
night.
a-
no,
Yeah.
because I don't think he's when the ball was on the ground in the Super Bowl, he didn't go for it.
I'm talking straight
Mac Brown-
team, a straight team move. It would be really smart for Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh to call him. There's been rumors
Yeah,
that
but
they
it's a
would
whole
call
different
him.
system.
I know it's a whole different system, but you got to look at it like this. Cam is 31.
They're both the same type of quarterback.
Ben
Hard to
Roethlisberger
bring
is towards
down.
the tail end
Yeah.
of 30, and we don't know how Ben's going to be off of this elbow surgery. He's just now getting to where he can throw a football again. So that's a good sign, but is it going to be 100% when it comes to when the regular season comes? And how long has it been since we've seen Ben Roethlisberger play a full season?
Well,
He
that's
just
true.
gets hurt. He just gets hurt. I'm not going to say he can't play, but he just gets hurt. So if you were to bring Cam in, he doesn't necessarily have to be your future, but he can come into a game and probably win you a game easier than Mason Rudolph can, than Duck
Yeah, but
Hodges
Hunter,
can.
if Cam has to come in and plays well at all, you know, the Pittsburgh fans will call for Ben's head, and I think Ben's at a situation I think they've made an agreement they're not going to mess with Ben right now and let him play it.
You
I
think
think they're
Pittsburgh
actually
would
going to
call
let
for
him kind of
Ben's
play it
head?
out.
You think they wouldn't just be like, okay, Cam's here for a minute, but Big Ben is still our guy. You wouldn't think that's what the Pittsburgh natives would do? No.
I find it hard to believe
Hunter.
because Ben's been there. They believe
know.
in
They-
Ben.
The Cowboys got rid of Romo after 4 games and a 4th-round pick played well. Do you not think that the Steelers and they would just replace Ben 7-8 years younger who hasn't have rape allegations as their quarterback? I mean, come on.
But why did that happen in Dallas? Because Romo was constantly getting hurt. And everybody, all of a sudden, we've got a fresh quarterback out there, Dak Prescott, who's not been injured, can run the ball, etc. Let's go ahead and go with him. Besides having a quarterback, every time he drops back to pass, I'm having to worry about every guy that hits him hurting him again. You know, and I would think if
Well,
Cam would go to Pittsburgh, I think it's totally two because you're blocking one way for Ben. If Cam comes in, you got to block a different way because this guy might take off running.
This is another thing too, as well. Why I think the move for Pittsburgh to make a move for Cam wouldn't be a bad idea. Is the best ability? I always say it, the best ability in football is availability. And
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Tony Romo played 3 16-game seasons, 2 15-game seasons, and a 13. He got hurt that last year. When he was healthy, they didn't put him back in. He was kneed in the back on one of his last injuries during the preseason when he shouldn't have been out there. And Thomas Davis injured him the other time when he slammed on top of him like you're not supposed to with the illegal tackles. And Big Ben, Hunter, you was asking about his health. Not last year, of course, because he only played 2 games, but the year before that he played 16. The year before that he played 15. So before last year he had played 31 out of 32 games, and he had played 1, 2, 3 16-game seasons, 1, 2, 3, 4 15-game seasons before that. So those guys have missed a couple. I think our memories are being clouded again by those television cable giants that tend to lean towards the story on some of that maybe.
Well, even if it's not the injury problem, could it not just be the age? Not everybody is going.
That's it.
Not everybody is going to age like Tom Brady has, where even at 42, he's probably still a top 5 thrower of the football in the league. It doesn't always work like that. Father Time hits people differently. Big Ben could
ego.
come back. I know it's your ego. we can say the same thing about why Cam doesn't have a starting job. His ego wants him to be a starter.
Yeah, that's
but
it.
The reality is he probably needs to just take a backup role. But the ego won't let him. You could say the same thing with Big Ben. Big Ben's going to come out here in his ego. That's why for years he used to get mad whenever Pittsburgh would even draft the quarterback because he's like, look, this is my team.
But if you say it's his ego, nobody's offered him a backup contract, have they?
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody's even offered him.
No.
It's not like a situation.
We don't.
Well, I don't think it's a situation like the Browns offered Clowney, and basically he said no.
Yeah, he did say no.
Yeah.
But see, we haven't heard that about Cam. No, we didn't know the details of that offer to Clowney. Nobody knows how much money they offered him.
All right.
But he said no. So we haven't seen that with Cam. Like, hey, do you want to come be our backup for X amount of dollars? The rumor with Seattle, but there was no. Did they offer him a contract?
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Well,
that hasn't. Nobody's really. I guess Kevin could be right. Nobody could know about it.
Right. Well,
are we going to a break?
Yeah. Well, we're going to go to the break. I'll just.
There's something I've got to get before we get the break. Cheddar's 300 Xfinity race scheduled for today has been moved to Monday night at 7 p.m. So the Xfinity race scheduled for today, it's Monday, not today.
Okay.
Airtime is 6:30 on WCSL 92.3 FM 1590 AM, or as always, ktcbroadcasting.com. Then local area businesses are sponsoring senior salutes on the radio. Turn in this week to your local radio station and hear these special graduation wishes from our local area, and always support your local business.
Thank you, newsman Tom.
You're welcome.
Tom, what would we do without you?
You'd
glad.
probably be just fine. I'm just glad I have a job.
There you go. Well, that's going to take us to a break. I know we sat here and talked about Cam really the whole time when it came to the NFL, but other than that, that's really still a big storyline that nobody can seem to understand how once an MVP doesn't have a job. Other than that, NFL-wise, we'll just hope that the schedule remains the same. And with that, we are going to take a commercial break. When we come back, sports, and more sports that we can find right here on ktcbroadcasting.com.
Sunday, May 31st.
It looks like Byron's going to slide up the hill. He'll take Elmer